How can I help? I do. I've been watching you, studying you closely to see what kind of progress you've made since your training at the hands of Master Zar. I've seen you give in to temptation and indulge your baser emotions on many occasions. I'm afraid you are on the path that leads to the dark side. You need to see what the dark side represents in its entirety, for it is what we battle. Only the wisdom of a Jedi Master can truly explain this, but I will do my best to make you understand. We must, for all our sakes. If you had the proper training under a Master, you would know all this. But because of our mission, I must be the one to try and help you understand. The dark side is not simply giving in to anger, temptation, or to use the Force to destructive ends. These things only lead to the dark side. The dark side grows stronger and more insidious the closer you draw to it. It begs you to surrender to it, to release all its terrible power, and it becomes harder and harder to resist. And once you stop resisting, it's too late. It twists you up inside and turns you into a mockery of everything you once stood for. You say you understand, but I'm afraid you're taking this too lightly. The power of the dark side can be alluring. We need only to look at the atrocities which have been committed by those under its sway to understand the terrible, corrupting evil of the dark side. Millions dead, and far more suffering. What sort of person would you have to become to perform such deeds gladly? And how adept must one become at making excuses for one's actions if suffering is the result? How long before you stop making excuses at all? It's so easy to think that we would never fall prey to such a horror, that we have unlimited control, vigilance, and foresight. If only that were true. The Sith have become powerful because there are many Jedi who've succumbed to the lure of the dark side and joined their cause. What greater weapon is there than to turn an enemy to your cause, to use their own knowledge against them? We are weakened while they are strengthened, so we must harden our hearts and do whatever is required to fight against the dark side, even when the battle becomes wearying. I don't know. The vision of our future is clouded by shadows cast from the dark side. But I sense something ominous lurking in those shadows. But words alone cannot save one from the dark side. Come, we should continue with the task at hand. When the time comes, I only hope we are all strong enough to do what we must. How can I help? Then I suggest we move on.
Yes, what's on your mind? You got it.
Yes. What is it? I was remembering Taris. You mock my pain. It was a horrible place to live. We had to go through hell every day just to survive. And you think it bothering me is an irritation? Your insensitivity speaks ill of your qualities as a Jedi. Still, as the Council ordered me to do, I shall accompany you. But expect no great sympathy for your plights. Yes. What is it? I was remembering Taris. It was a horrible place to have to live. At least in the lower cities where the non-humans tended to get relegated. Living for years in a place with no sun, living off the trash dropped from the upper levels, and the meager pay doing back-breaking labor. There were none. Bad enough to be a race that is feared and hated by humans, but to be one that is strange and different, even among non-humans? But living was hard enough, without the stigma of being from a lost race. There was always the danger of Rakuls coming up from the sewers, or more mundane predators living and working in the area. My family and I struggled each and every day to make something of our lives, but we could only go so far. Taxes from the corrupt government, more fees from the gangs controlling the streets, and whatever was left paying for what food and medical supplies we could afford. It did not, but only because of the Jedi who came. It was very bad. We had no money to spare for any amenities. Even the Enclave on Tatooine seems a paradise in comparison. And of course, There was the constant bigotry and hate from the more affluent and human citizens, lording their wealth over us living below. Every once in a while, a rich human would come down through the lower levels with his droid entourage just to see how the wildlife lived, and laughed at the mockeries that were our successes. But I have come to meet many decent humans in my travels since those days. Indeed, some of the greatest people I have ever met are human. I have noticed that. But the Jedi Order seems to have collected a fair number. The Jedi who encouraged me to join the Order. The one who was with the group going to fight the Mandalorians. She was human. I suppose I see something of her in you when I look... I am sorry. I am getting away from my point. If there even was one. Sometimes I curse the day my parents fled to Taris. But then again, if they had not, I would not be where I am today. Another story for another time. For now, we must continue our own epic. To save the galaxy, if we can. How may I be of assistance? What is it you would... Of course.
Yeah, what do you want? I don't have as many strange stories like the last one I told you, but I do have a couple about me and the stuff I've done. In one battle above the world of Althir, my unit managed to defeat a force of Althiri 10 times our own size. That battle gained me command of an entire subsect of my clan. Ha! I was the best. Except for Mandalore, of course. He was the only person alive except Revan who could have beaten me. For 5 days, they had managed to hold off our forces, keeping us to the outer rings of their world, preventing us from attacking it directly. My task was to assault one of their flanks with a false attack. The Althiri would be drawn out by the units I had sent in. Once they had surrounded those units, the bulk of my forces would attack from the rear and defeat them in detail. They weren't stupid. Stupid races don't make starships and weapons of mass destruction. But they weren't masters of the arts of war as the Mandalorians are. Things didn't go as I had planned. I saw an opening, a mistake they had made in the disposition of their forces, and took it. While fending off our main force, they had let their fleet split in two. The center of their entire fleet was left exposed. I turned my forces and assaulted the center of their fleet, decimating them. Their slow, ponderous ship could not turn to face us without being overwhelmed. The command vessels were destroyed in seconds. Their ranks were thrown into chaos. It was amusing to watch the surviving ships scatter and flee. Several even tried to dive through the plane of the rings to escape us. They were shredded by the rings, or crashed into rocks, or were destroyed by our forces as we pursued them. Warriors do not flee from a battle if they are losing. They fight to the end, as we did against your Jedi Revan. Another time, maybe I'll tell you about how the war with the Republic went. For now, let's just get on with things. Is there something... Your choice.
Hey there, what can I do for you? I always heard Tatooine was nothing but a rock. Sorry, I'm worried about Griff and his latest plan. I got a bad feeling about it. He doesn't know anything about brewing Teresian ale. And now he's got himself mixed up with the exchange. Sometimes Griff can be so stupid. Part of me just wants to let him get what's coming to him. Maybe a couple broken kneecaps will do him some good. Maybe that's just the kind of jolt he needs to turn his life around. Only, what if they do something worse? They might kill him. I don't want him to die. He doesn't deserve that. But I just can't keep supporting his crazy schemes. Someone has to teach him a lesson. You're right. Griff may be my brother, but he deserted me on Taris. As far as I'm concerned, that pretty much breaks any bond we had. I'm not gonna worry about Griff anymore. Like you said, he brought this on himself. Besides, he always treated me like garbage. Now it's payback time. Hey there. I'm not gonna worry about Griffin.